found out my fiance has been secretly paying his ex-wife's rent for 2 years and confronted him about it at his daughter's birthday party. And now everyone is saying I humiliated him and ruined a child's special day. My fiance Derek and I have been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. He was married before to his high school sweetheart Amanda, and they have a 12-year-old daughter named Kaylee together. They divorced about 5 years ago, and from what Derek told me, it was amicable. Amanda has primary custody, and Derek has Kaylee every other weekend and one weeknight for dinner. Money has been tight for us lately. We're trying to save for a wedding and a down payment on a house, but it feels like we're barely keeping our heads above water. I work as a dental hygienist and make decent money, but Derek's income as a middle school teacher isn't huge. We've had to put off the wedding twice now because we can't afford what we want, and we're still renting a small apartment when we'd hoped to be in a house by now. I've been the one really pushing us to budget better. I made a spreadsheet of all our expenses and income, trying to figure out where we could cut back. Derek has always been kind of vague about his finances, saying he has it handled, but I felt like we needed to be more unified about money if we were going to get married. Last week, I was looking for a receipt in Derek's email for something we'd bought together, and I saw a Venmo notification. It was for $1,400 to Amanda with a note that just said March. I thought maybe it was extra child support or something for Kaylee's school expenses, which would be fine, but the amount seemed high. I scrolled back and found the same payment every single month going back 2 years. $1,400 to Amanda every month like clockwork. I felt sick. That's $16,800 a year. Over the 2 years, he'd sent her more than $33,000 while we were struggling to save for our future. I confronted Derek that night and asked what the payments were for. He got really uncomfortable and said it was complicated. I pushed and he finally admitted he's been paying Amanda's rent. He said when they divorced, Amanda hadn't worked in years because she'd been a stay-at-home mom. She struggled to find a job that paid enough to cover rent in a safe neighborhood for Kaylee. Derek said he couldn't stand the thought of his daughter living somewhere unstable, so he offered to help with rent temporarily. That was 5 years ago. Apparently, the temporary help became permanent, and when Amanda moved to a nicer apartment 2 years ago, he just kept paying. I asked why he never told me. He said he knew I'd be upset, and it didn't feel like my business since it was money he earned before we combined finances. I said we're engaged and planning a life together, so yes, it absolutely was my business that he was spending nearly $17,000 a year on his ex-wife. He said it wasn't for Amanda, it was for Kaylee, to make sure she had a good home. We fought for days. I said if he wanted to support Kaylee, that's fine, but there had to be a better way than paying his ex-wife's full rent forever. He said Amanda works now, but still can't afford rent in their school district on her own, and he wasn't going to let Kaylee's life get disrupted by having to move and change schools. I said Amanda is a grown woman who needed to figure out her own housing, and that he was enabling her to never become fully independent. This weekend was Kaylee's birthday party at Amanda's apartment. The apartment Derek pays for, which I'd never been inside before. It's really nice. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, in a great part of town. Way nicer than the place Derek and I share. I was standing in this beautiful living room that my fiance's money pays for while we live in a cramped apartment with outdated appliances, and I just snapped. I didn't yell or make a scene, but I pulled Derek aside while people were eating cake and told him I couldn't do this anymore. I said I felt betrayed that he'd hidden this from me, and that I couldn't marry someone who was going to prioritize his ex-wife's comfort over our future together. Derek said we'd talk about it later, but I was already upset and said, no, we needed to talk now about when this was going to end. His voice got tight and he said, can we please not do this at my daughter's birthday party? Some people had stopped talking and were looking at us. I said, your daughter's birthday party in the apartment you pay for while we can't afford our own wedding? Amanda came over and asked if everything was okay.